If you're 35 and you don't have at least $50,000 saved and invested, I'm going to say something that might sting. You're not a little behind. You're not getting started. You're in danger. Not because you're a bad person, not because you failed, because the math window that makes wealth easy is already closing, and most people don't even realize it happened. People work hard for 40 years, earn decent money, and still arrive at retirement with a life that feels tight, anxious, and limited. And they don't understand why. It's usually not one dramatic mistake. It's one missed milestone at one critical age. And the reason I'm talking about this is simple. If you see the window early enough, you can still walk through it calmly. If you see it too late, you'll spend decades trying to compensate for lost time. Now, before we go deeper, quick question. Write in the comments where you're watching from and what age you are. Not for me, for you. Because there's something different about seeing your age written in your own words before you hear the numbers. All right, let me show you the part nobody explains clearly enough. Two people, same income, same life, same starting point. The only difference is timing. Person A starts saving early, not perfectly, not insanely, just consistently. Let's say they save a fixed amount every month starting at 25, and they do it for 10 years. Then, at 35, they stop. They don't add anything else. Life gets busy, kids, work, expenses, whatever. Person B waits. They tell themselves, I'll catch up later. And they start at 35. Same monthly amount. But they have to keep doing it for 30 years straight to try to match the outcome. Now, here's the part that makes people uncomfortable. The person who started early and saved for only 10 years often ends up with more money than the person who saved for 30. Not because they were smarter, not because they picked the right stock, because time did the heavy lifting. Time is more valuable than money when you're building wealth. And most people waste time like it's replaceable. It isn't. The market has one rule that doesn't care about your intentions. Compounding rewards the early start and punishes the delay. Even a few years of delay is brutal, because you're not losing a few years of saving, you're losing a few years of compounding on everything you ever save after that. That's why 35 matters. 35 isn't magical, it's just where the curve starts to bite. And that's why 50,000 matters, because 50,000 invested early becomes something much larger later, even if you don't keep feeding it constantly. Let's do a simple thought experiment. If you invest $50,000 and you let it compound for decades, you're not relying on effort anymore. You're relying on mathematics. You're letting time multiply your decision. Now, if you hit that milestone by 35, you have 30 years or more for it to grow. If you hit it at 40, you have 5 fewer years. And 5 years doesn't sound like much, until you realize those 5 years might cost you more than $100,000 of future wealth. That's the hidden tax of waiting. And here's why this matters psychologically. Most people in their 20s think time is infinite, so they spend like time is infinite. They upgrade the apartment, they upgrade the car, they upgrade the lifestyle. They use phrases that sound harmless. I deserve it. I'll catch up later. I'm still young. I want to live a little. And living a little is fine. But the problem is, they don't live a little. They build a life where everything is a payment. Then 30 arrives, and they realize they're behind. But they tell themselves they'll catch up in their 30s. Then 35 arrives, and panic sets in. Because by then, real adult expenses show up. Housing, family, responsibilities, health, work stress, and saving becomes harder. So the window closes while people are busy trying to look successful. Now, I'm not saying you're doomed if you're over 35 and you don't have 50,000. I'm saying this: if you don't have it by 35, you need to stop treating saving like a casual intention and start treating it like a mission. Not forever, for a season. Because every year you delay, the amount you need to catch up doesn't increase slowly. It accelerates. That's what compounding does, on the way up and on the way down. Now let me make this real with a picture. Staying broke forever doesn't mean sleeping on the street. It usually looks like something quieter and sadder. It looks like working until 67 or 70, not because you love work, but because you can't afford not to. It looks like retirement with enough to survive, but not enough to breathe. It looks like being older and still doing mental math in the grocery store, still worrying about repairs, still afraid of one medical expense, still saying, "we can't," to things you thought you'd do one day. That's not a moral failure, it's a math failure, caused by delay. Now I want to flip the frame, because this channel is calm wealth. This isn't about shame, it's about clarity. If you catch this now, you can still build a calm future. And the way you do it is not complicated. It's simple, just not easy. You earn, you live below your means, you invest the surplus consistently in low-cost, diversified assets. You repeat long enough for compounding to take over. That's it. But the reason most people don't do it is not math, it's psychology. It requires saying no to things that everyone around you is saying yes to. It requires being the boring one for a while. It requires building wealth invisibly, while everyone else is buying a visible lifestyle. And most people would rather look rich now than be secure later. So here's what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to show you the milestone numbers that matter and why they matter. A realistic path to hit $50,000, even on an average income. What to do if you're already past 35 and you're behind. The psychological rules that make this sustainable. Because the goal isn't to scare you. The goal is to wake you up while there's still time to change the ending. Now, let's get specific. Let's talk about what hitting $50,000 by 35 actually requires, and why most people who say, "I can't," are usually not facing a math problem. They're facing a priorities problem, and priorities can be redesigned. Now, let's get specific, with numbers that are simple enough to feel real. Because the goal isn't to scare you, the goal is to give you a clear target and a clear path. Here's why the $50,000 milestone is so powerful. If you hit $50,000 by 35 and you invest it in a basic diversified index fund, and then you do something almost no one has the courage to do. You leave it alone. No drama. No watching it daily. No trying to outsmart the market. You just let it compound. By 65, that single decision has the potential to turn into something that looks like an entirely different life. And here's the brutal part. If you wait 5 years, the same exact effort produces a much smaller outcome. 5 years doesn't feel like a lot in your mind, but in compounding, 5 years is a cliff. 5 years isn't just 5 years of saving, it's 5 years of growth on everything you ever save after that. That's why people who start later and work harder often still lose to people who started earlier and stayed boring. So let's anchor this with a simple comparison. Imagine two people. Same income, same life, same starting line. Person A starts early. They contribute consistently for 10 years. Then they stop adding completely. They get busy. Life happens. But the money they already saved keeps working. Person B waits. They start later, and to match the same outcome, they have to contribute for decades. This isn't an opinion, it's how the curve works. Time is not a detail. Time is the engine. Now, let's talk about the benchmarks, the quick where you should be guide. These numbers aren't perfect. They're not a moral score. They're just a compass. If you're in your mid-20s, you want to see the first $10,000 to $15,000 show up as early as possible. It's not because $15,000 is a lot. It's because the first dollars teach you the habit, and the habit is what builds the foundation. If you're 30, you want to be closer to $25,000. If you're early 30s, you want to be in the $35,000 range. And by 35, you want to see $50,000. Again, it's not magic. It's simply the point where compounding starts to become your partner instead of your enemy. Now here's the question most people ask at this point. Okay, but how do I actually get there? I'm not a high earner. Good, because this is where people get trapped in excuses. Hitting $50,000 by 35 is not reserved for trust fund kids. It's mostly about one decision. You either build a surplus or you don't. Not a huge surplus, a consistent surplus. Let's make it realistic. Say you take home around $3,700 a month. That's not luxury, that's normal life in a lot of places. If you save 15% consistently, that's roughly $550 a month. People hear that and immediately react emotionally. I can't! But most of the time, I can't actually means I don't want the lifestyle changes required. Because the math isn't mysterious. The lifestyle trade is. Saving $550 a month doesn't require genius. It requires boundaries. It requires being willing to look behind for a while. It means you can't finance your identity. It means you don't get the expensive apartment just because your friends did. You don't get the new car just because you're tired of the old one. You don't treat delivery like a daily default. You don't upgrade everything the moment you get a raise. You choose a simpler baseline, and then you protect the gap. Because that gap is where wealth lives. And yes, it will look boring from the outside. People may think you're struggling. Let them. Your social media might look small. Let it. Because what they don't see is the only thing that matters. Your account is growing. And once that foundation is built, your life gets calmer. Not because you became rich overnight, but because you've created margin. Now let's talk about what this looks like in practice. If you want to hit $50,000 by 35, you need a simple structure. Automate the saving first. Not at the end of the month if there's money left. First. The moment you're paid, the money moves. Because if you wait, your lifestyle will eat it. Keep housing and transportation reasonable. For most people, those two categories decide the entire game. If you overpay there, you'll feel broke no matter how much you earn. A paid-off used car beats a shiny payment every time. A modest living situation for a few years beats a permanent financial treadmill. Invest in low-cost, diversified assets, not because it's exciting, because it's reliable. The goal isn't to be clever, the goal is to be consistent. Repeat until the foundation is built. 10 years of boring behavior can change 40 years of outcome. That's the trade. And now I need to say this clearly, because someone will hear these numbers and panic. If you're 36 or 40 or 45 and you don't have $50,000 yet, you are not doomed. But you are also not allowed to be casual anymore, because time is no longer doing as much work for you, so you have to do more work yourself. If you're behind, here's the calm wealth version of getting aggressive. Not reckless, not desperate, focused. Your mission becomes simple. Build the first $50,000 as fast as you reasonably can without destroying your life. That means 3 things. First, cut the obvious leaks. Not cut joy, cut leaks. Subscriptions you don't use, payments that exist for status, spending that happens when you're stressed. Second, increase income where possible. This doesn't have to be a hustle culture fantasy. It can be negotiating, job switching, adding a skill, freelancing a few hours, selling what you don't use. When you're behind, speed matters. Third, put the money where it can actually grow. Not sitting idle, invested. Because inflation is quietly stealing time as well. Now, a quick but important note. People always ask, should I buy a house first instead of investing? The calm answer is, it depends. But here's the mistake most people make. They use a house as a reason to delay the foundation. They say, I'm saving for a down payment. But what they're really doing is staying cash-heavy for years, missing compounding, and then taking on a massive fixed cost that makes saving even harder. A home can be a good life choice, but it is not automatically a better wealth choice, especially if it delays the compounding engine. The foundation comes first. Then you can buy the house from a position of strength, not pressure. And what about debt? Here's the calm rule. High-interest debt is an emergency. Low-interest debt is a math decision. Credit card debt usually has to go first because it's destroying you faster than you can build. But low-rate loans, those require analysis, not emotion. Many people want the psychological relief of being debt-free. I understand that. But you don't want to trade long-term security for short-term emotional relief. The goal is calm wealth, not just feeling good this month. Now here's the psychological reality behind all of this. Most people don't fail because they don't understand. They fail because they can't handle being different. Saving consistently means saying no while others say yes. It means driving the paid-off car while others lease. It means skipping expensive trips while others post highlights. And most people would rather be broke together than disciplined alone. That's the real battle. Not math. Identity. So the question becomes, are you willing to look behind for a season to be free later? Because your future self will arrive faster than you think. One day you're 25, thinking time is infinite. Then you blink and you're 45, wondering where the years went. Then you blink and you're 65, wishing someone had made the numbers feel real. So let's do that. In the next part, I'm going to give you a simple, realistic budget framework, the Calm Wealth 15% plan. And I'll show you exactly how to restructure your spending so the $50,000 goal becomes automatic instead of emotional. And then I'll show you what to do if you're already past 35, so you can still build a solid retirement instead of just hoping. All right, now we build the bridge between I get it and I'm doing it. Because this is where most people fail. They hear the numbers, they feel a wave of urgency, they promise themselves they'll change, and then life hits them with routine, and they go back to normal. So we're going to make this practical, not perfect, practical. I'm going to give you a simple structure you can use whether you're 25, 35, or 45. It's called the Calm Wealth Foundation Plan. It has 3 layers. Baseline, what you must do no matter what. Standard, what you do if you want to hit the goal comfortably. Sprint, what you do if you're behind and need to catch up. And you'll choose one based on your reality, not your fantasy, not what you wish you could do, your real life. Let's start with the baseline. Layer 1. Baseline, non-negotiable. If you do only one thing from this video, do this. Automate a percentage the same day you get paid. Not end of month if there's money left, the same day. Because if you wait, your lifestyle will spend it for you. Your brain will always find a reason. So the baseline is automatic transfer plus automatic investing, even if it's small. Because the habit is the foundation. Now, the second baseline rule. You don't build the foundation while carrying high-interest debt. Credit cards, payday loans, anything that's eating you alive monthly, that's not a situation, that's an emergency. If you're paying 18 to 25% interest, your wealth-building plan is being crushed from the inside. So baseline is, stop new debt, pay down high-interest debt aggressively, then invest consistently. And the third baseline rule, protect your fixed costs. Housing and car costs decide most people's financial destiny. If you lock yourself into a life where you need every paycheck just to breathe, you can't build wealth. So baseline is, keep the machine light. Now, Layer 2. Layer 2, standard, the normal path to $50,000. This is the plan that works for most people with average income. The goal is not to save everything. The goal is to build a consistent surplus. A clean way to think about it is 15% to your future self. Not because 15 is magic, but because it's a line where compounding starts to become meaningful. If you can do 15% consistently, your future becomes different. Now here's what 15% actually means in real life. It means you're going to choose a lifestyle baseline that feels slightly boring compared to your peers. Not miserable, boring. You're going to do a few simple things. Don't finance your identity. Don't upgrade with every raise. Don't turn convenience into a daily default. Don't let subscriptions become your second rent. You protect the gap. Because the gap is what becomes the $50,000. Now let's talk about the structure, the part people need. Here's a simple spending framework you can use immediately. It's not perfect. It's a starting point. Needs: housing, utilities, basic groceries, basic transport. Stability, debt payments, insurance, emergency buffer. Future, investing/retirement accounts. Life, hobbies, fun, travel, within boundaries. Most people do it backwards. They do needs plus life first, and then future gets whatever is left. But whatever is left is usually zero. So the calm wealth order is future first, needs second, life inside what remains. That's the entire secret. Not complicated investing, order. Now, if you're 25 to 35, the standard plan can often be enough. But what if you're already past 35 and you're behind? That's where Layer 3 comes in. Layer 3, sprint if you're behind. This is not hustle culture. This is a temporary season of focus. A sprint is what you do when the window is closing and you need momentum. The sprint has 3 levers. Cut leaks, increase income, invest consistently. And yes, it's uncomfortable, but the alternative is being uncomfortable for decades. So what does cut leaks mean? It doesn't mean living like a monk. It means eliminating spending that doesn't actually improve your life, spending that exists mainly for relief, status, or habit. Typical leaks: subscriptions you forget, eating out because you're tired, not because you love it. Convenient spending that became normal, car payments that exist mostly for image, impulse shopping triggered by stress. You don't need to cut everything. You need to cut what's not aligned. And then income. If you're behind, you often can't save your way out fast enough on your current income, so you need a focused income strategy. Negotiate, switch jobs for a jump, add a skill that increases pay, take a limited side project, sell what you don't use. Not forever, until you hit the first milestone. Because once the foundation is built, the pressure reduces. Now, I want to address the 2 questions that always show up here. Should I buy a house first? Only if it doesn't delay the foundation. The problem is that most people use "I'm saving for a down payment" as a cover for staying cash-heavy for years while lifestyle expands. Then they buy the house and their fixed costs explode, and they invest even less. A house can be a great life choice, but if it delays your investing foundation and increases your monthly baseline, it can trap you. Build the engine first, then buy from strength. Should I pay off all debt before investing? High-interest debt, yes. Low-interest debt requires math and calm thinking. A lot of people want the emotional relief of being debt-free. I understand that. But calm wealth is not about emotional relief today. It's about long-term security. So the rule is, destroy high-interest debt. Don't panic about low-interest debt. Keep building your investing habit. Now, let's bring this home with something you can actually follow. The 90-day Calm Wealth Action Plan. This is the plan for the next 3 months. Week 1. Automate a transfer on payday. List every recurring subscription. Choose 1 leak to eliminate. Week 2. Set a fixed life budget number. Stop the random spending bleeding. Start tracking for awareness, not guilt. Week 3 to 4. Create a simple emergency buffer, even small. Pay down high-interest debt with focus. Keep investing automatically, even if small. Month 2. Adjust housing/transport if they're crushing you. Negotiate or apply for higher-paying roles. Build a repeatable weekly routine, meal prep/spending boundaries. Month 3. Increase the automatic contribution by 1 to 2%. Build the first $10,000 to $15,000 milestone. Then keep going until $50,000 becomes inevitable. Because that's the truth. You don't save $50,000 by having one heroic month. You save it by building a system that makes it hard not to save. Now, if you're still listening, this is your moment. Most people will feel inspired, then do nothing. But if you do one thing today, you separate yourself from the average outcome. So here's your assignment. Pick your layer: baseline, standard, or sprint. Then do the first action within 24 hours. Set the automatic transfer. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from, how old you are, and which layer you're choosing. Because once you choose it publicly, you're more likely to follow through. And your future self is depending on you. Now, we close this the right way, calm but honest. Because this isn't about being good with money. It's about whether you get to live your later years with options or with anxiety. Most people don't fear being poor at 25. They fear being poor at 65. And the reason that fear becomes real is simple. People wait until they feel urgency. But by the time you feel urgency, the window is already smaller. That's why this milestone is so important. It forces urgency early enough for it to actually help you. Now, let me make one thing clear. If you're under 35 and you're not at $50,000 yet, you have time. But you don't have endless time. If you're over 35 and you're behind, you can still recover, but you can't recover casually. So either way, the answer is the same. You need a system. Not a wish, not a plan you mean to start. A system that runs even when you're tired, stressed, busy, or emotional. Because that's the real reason people fail. They don't fail when they're motivated. They fail when they're normal. They fail on weekdays. They fail when they're exhausted. They fail when friends invite them out. They fail when they feel behind. They fail when they think, I'll start next month. And next month becomes next year. So let's simplify this into one choice. Here's the choice. You can keep living the normal way. Spend first, save what's left. Upgrade when you earn more. Use debt to make life feel easier. Tell yourself you'll catch up later. And you'll get the normal result. Not because you're bad, because the normal system produces a normal outcome. Or you can do the uncomfortable thing, for a season. You can look behind while your account gets ahead. You can build a surplus. You can automate investing. You can stop financing your identity. You can build the foundation now while time still matters. That's the trade. You either feel a little discomfort now, or you feel a lot of discomfort later. Now, I'm going to give you the cleanest, calm wealth version of a promise. If you do these two things, you'll change your trajectory. 1. Automate a contribution the same day you get paid. 2. Keep your fixed costs under control. That's it. Not stock picking, not crypto drama, not complicated strategies. Automation plus low fixed costs equals surplus. Surplus invested consistently equals compounding. Compounding equals freedom. Now your assignment is simple. Within the next 24 hours, do one action that makes this real. Not plan it, do it. Set the automatic transfer. Increase it by 1%. Cancel one recurring leak. Create a separate future account that you don't touch. Write your baseline/standard/sprint choice on paper. One action. Because one action turns a video into a turning point. And before you go, I want you to leave a comment. Write where you're watching from and how old you are. Then answer this. Are you choosing baseline, standard, or sprint for the next 90 days? Not for me, for you. Because when you name the season you're in, you stop drifting. And if you want the next step, the next video will be practical. I'll give you a one-page Calm Wealth template, a simple breakdown you can use to set your percentages, track your fixed costs, and see exactly how long it takes to hit your first $50,000. No shame, no hype, just a calm plan that works. Keep it calm, keep it simple, and let time work for you, not against you.